Okay, welcome everybody to the 32nd Hohner live stream today, together with Wilde from Brighton, UK. Welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for taking the time. I hope everybody can see us and hear us. Please let us know if the volumes are fine. If you don't know about Will is one of the great rock musicians in the harmonica world, and also an inventor of harmonica tunings. We will talk about this. I'm very interested in it because I don't play any special tunings, and they just sound amazing when you play them.
Thanks.
So, welcome everybody. There are people from Mexico, quite a few German people too. That's great. New York City, and everything's fine with the audio and the video. Nice. So the funny thing is, I think the last time I just read about you again, or like heard about you again, was after I uploaded like that lesson on that do-si-do song on Diplo, and I didn't know who the harmonica player was.
Cool.
And it was hard for me to figure it out, but I don't know. In the end, somebody told me that you played the harmonica for that song.
Right. Yeah, that was a good session. That it's quite a small little loop, but it's kind of the hook in one of the hooks in the song. So
yeah, it sounds fantastic. And yeah, can you tell us like how did that come about?
Yeah, I mean, it's not that exciting a story, really. It was a remote session, so I did it here in my studio by myself. But yeah, they contacted me and said they wanted a kind of short harp loop for the song. I think they sent me a reference track just with the kind of vibe that they wanted, and the thing that that came out of it was just that little loop, which wasn't exactly what I played. I played a longer thing than that, and they chopped it up and made it into that. Yeah, to be honest, I did the session and I forgot about it.
Of course.
I didn't actually know it was for Diplo, because he didn't tell me who he was when he contacted me. But I kind of thought it was going to be commercial because it sounded like a hit. And it was only when you posted your cover video of it, I was like, hang on a minute, like, I recognized that part, and yeah, that was when I realized it had been released. So yeah.
Wow, that's great. So was that something you basically improvised, or how do you go about these like sessions?
Yeah, pretty much. Like I had to listen to the reference that they sent me. I can't remember what it was now, to be honest. And that just gave me the kind of vibe, kind of sound they wanted, kind of chordy thing. And yeah, just put it down. It's just a really short part of the track, and they liked it, fortunately. So yeah.
Nice, yeah. I just discovered it like on Spotify, and I was just very happy like to hear something commercial with harmonica, and with a harmonica that's well played and that really sounds good.
Cool. Yeah, I think Timber was probably the last kind of pop track.
Yeah.
With a hard hook in it like that. Yeah, this wasn't quite as big a hit as Timber, unfortunately, but yeah, it still charted.
Nice. Yeah. So yeah, that was exciting. And of course, maybe people know you also from like the many harmonica jams you uploaded on YouTube during the last few months. We also had Elin Öberg from Sweden, right? Here on the Hohner Live, and you played together. So Yeah, I mean,
well, yeah,
you already told me that there are more sessions coming up, right?
Yeah, I've done, I think there's 3 so far. That was the first one with Elin, and that was cool. Like, I met her in Sweden. She was playing a gig.
Okay.
Was it Sweden or Norway? Somewhere. It was Hell Blues Festival in Norway, and her band were playing, and we decided we should do like a track together, and that's where I got the idea to start doing these remote collaboration things. And it's quite interesting collaborating with another harmonica player, because like I never do that in a band. I collaborate with all
and you would never like, it's not always a good idea to be on stage with 2 harmonica players.
Yeah, that's it. So you really have to think about the arrangement, and it's kind of strange hearing what someone else does when you're playing the same instrument, because I'm so close to this instrument. I kind of know exactly what I want to hear from it, and obviously whatever anyone else plays is going to be something different from that. So but it it makes it a lot more interesting having someone to bounce off and share ideas with. So I did one with Brendan Power and one with Sarah Saputri, and working on one with Rolly Platten now, which is going to be out next week. It's a little funky thing. And there's one with Rochelle Plass in the pipeline as well. So lots to come.
That's great. I mean, they sound great. I mean, there's like your rock harmonica playing is featured, and that's where you're coming from musically, right? So you're not only a harmonica player, but you also play guitar, and you also sing, and you're writing songs. How did all of that start? What was like the first instrument for you?
First instrument I played was drums, actually.
Okay, I read about that. So you actually did study drums?
I did study drums for a while, yeah. I went to music college to play drums, but in between auditioning for the college and actually starting there was when I picked up the harmonica. So by the time I started the course, I wasn't really interested in playing drums anymore.
Okay.
So yeah, but yeah, mostly I'm a harmonica player, singer, and songwriter. I don't really play guitar live anymore. It's mainly just used as a songwriting tool for me. All these guitars on the wall behind me are our guitar player Steve. They're not mine.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, people can only see like a fraction of like what I can see, but this is like the most musical background we had on the Hohner live stream.
yeah. It's quite a small room, but there's a lot of gear crammed in here. You know, this is where we're recording the the current album that's been a work in progress for nearly 2 years now.
Yeah.
I'm long overdue a new album, but COVID's kind of put the brakes on that, and I broke my neck last year. That put the brakes on it too. But
now you're back and you can play all the instruments you play.
Yeah. But how I got started playing music, I suppose. I was into a lot of rock, metal, a bit punk and stuff growing up as a teenager. Bands like Marilyn Manson and Korn and Silverchair, Offspring, stuff like that. But I'd already kind of knew a lot about blues music because I grew up listening to it. My dad used to listen to a lot of blues.
Okay.
So, I always kind of knew who Sonny Boy Williamson was and John Lee Hooker and Muddy Waters from like a very young age.
Yeah.
So I absorbed all the music that way. But I didn't really sort of claim blues music as being my own music that I listened to until I was maybe 16 or 17.
Okay.
Which is when I started playing harp. But now I'm making a rock record now, which is going to be very different to everything I've done so far. It's not a blues rock record. It's a hard rock record.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Just happens to have some lead harmonica solos in it. So, yeah.
That's fantastic. I'm looking forward to that, because like on the other albums you have out, there's also still like a lot of blues and like swing stuff on there, or like stuff with swing feeling.
Yeah. I mean, the last album was kind of a transitional point. It was a covers album actually, but
yeah.
So that was more of a blues rock record, you know, like Deep Purple, and there was a Black Sabbath cover on there, but it's mainly kind of heavy bluesy stuff.
Yeah.
And now I just want to make a new original record that's I want to write some songs, write some choruses, rather than just another load of 12-bar blues stuff. So yeah.
Okay, yeah. But I really enjoyed like some of the covers you did. I listened to Susie Q, which I love as a song in general.
Cool, yeah. And
the Parisian Walkway song is also like a great melody for harmonica.
It was actually. That song was kind of a turning point for me. I was talking to Danny Giles, who used to play guitar in my band. He's a good friend of mine. And I was saying, like, we should write something kind of like that, like a sort of slow, minor, bluesy thing, but not traditional chord changes. Because I really like to hear harp played over different chord progressions other than the same one all the time. And he just said, well, why don't you just cover Parisian Walkways, you know?
Yeah.
And at first I was like, I don't know about that. Like, every guitarist on the blues scene does Parisian Walkways. But then I started messing around with it and realized it really worked on harp, and it was kind of very different to everything else you hear on harp, you know. And that was the first time that I used the Marshall amp, like a high gain guitar amp as opposed to a Fender. And I've never really gone back from that sound since. It's more of a lead guitar kind of sound. So the sound of you playing harmonica right now is like maybe not the sound someone would necessarily think of like in first place when talking about the harmonica. So what was like the first what got you into playing harmonica? Like, was it the sound of the instrument? Like it was really, it was one song.
Okay.
Help Me by Sonny Boy Williamson.
Okay, yeah.
Like that kind of thing.
Oh yeah, and that definitely feels like it has a lot more rock influence to it than other blues songs, I would say.
Yeah, sure. So I was drawn to that kind of style, that minor pentatonic, more so than the kind of, you know, Little Walter sort of.
Yeah.
More so than that. I mean, I enjoy playing that stuff, but it doesn't feel so much like me, you know.
Yeah.
And I found that the kind of Sonny Boy style, being mostly you know, minor pentatonic blues scale based, translates really well into rock. I mean, most of the stuff I play now is really just Sonny Boy Williamson and James Cotton, just maybe faster and a bit more aggressive, higher up. But, you know, it will stem from that.
Yeah, that's funny. Like, basically the first song that you heard then, or that inspired you, really like influenced you a lot, like, and even like gets represented in the tuning that you play.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, we should talk about this later.
Cool.
There's some questions coming in. Soda is asking, what are you drinking? Overblow juice?
This is a Naked Green Machine. Yeah, it's got all kinds of green stuff in it.
Yeah. Nice. Alex is asking, what was the most helpful tip you got for harmonica playing in your life?
I don't know. Well, I'm self-taught, so I wasn't really given many tips.
Yeah.
When I learned, I was 16, so this is about 15 years ago. I think we still had dial-up internet then. I don't know if YouTube existed, but people weren't like using YouTube if it did. So I just learned by playing to Muddy Waters records, really. Just listening and copying and doing it again and again and again. Yeah, I don't know. I did have a weekend of tuition. There's something called the Euro Blues Foundation, or Euro Blues Productions, which is a workshop week, and they do weekends as well, which I now teach on actually. But it's run by a blues musician called Michael Roach, who's a country blues guitar player and singer. But they have harmonica classes too. And I went on that weekend when I'd only been playing for maybe 6 months to a year. And I had a weekend of lessons with Eddie Martin, player from Bristol in the UK. And he really, I think he taught me blues scale in first, second, and third position.
Yeah.
And that was it, really. I mean, I only knew about second position before that. And while I was there on that weekend, I didn't really understand a lot about the first and third position that he was talking about. But I remember he gave me these printouts with the tab of the scale.
Yeah.
And it was maybe about a year later, I was trying to work out a solo by ear from, I don't know, probably a Muddy Waters song or something. And I remember finding that I couldn't, like, the song was in G, so I was playing a C harp. And the harp player went down lower than that. And I was like, well, how's he doing that? Like, you can't bend that low. So, and then I thought, oh, maybe maybe that's what he was talking about.
Yeah.
And I found this bit of paper and worked it out. And I was like, oh yeah, he's playing in first position. So yeah, I guess the best tips I had were from that weekend with Eddie Martin, just showing me blues scale in 3 positions.
Yeah. I mean, that's something we can just recommend to everybody. Like, if there's if you have the chance to like visit a harmonica festival or a workshop or something in your area, I would go there.
Yeah.
At least to like meet people in person who also are crazy about harmonica playing.
Oh, absolutely. I went
not only like virtually.
Yeah, I went to the SPA convention in St. Louis 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Have you been?
I've never been there. I really want to go. Yeah.
Yeah, great. It's like 400 harmonica players all staying in one giant hotel with seminars every day and jams and performances and stuff. But that was really interesting because it's like every type of harmonica players, so diatonic players, chromatic, bass, chord, country players, blues players, jazz players, classical players.
Yeah. And 2 days in, you don't want to hear harmonica anymore.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But that was interesting because I don't really get to meet many other harp players in the UK. And when I do, they're always blues players, you know. So it was cool, like meeting people that do other things and, you know, overblowers and people that like alternate tunings and all these different approaches that we have, you know. You can learn a lot from that.
Yeah, that was also for me like crazy when I first went to like the harmonica master workshops in Trossingen. That was in 2010, I think. And it was like just amazing to like see my harmonica heroes in person and like just seeing like Steve Baker walk there. I was just in awe, and I mean, of course, I only saw these guys like on the internet before.
Right. You know, I met Steve Baker once in a hotel. Not even a hotel, like a bed and breakfast somewhere on the road in Germany.
Okay.
But it was completely random. Yeah. Like we weren't playing a gig in the town or anything. We both just happened to be stopping over in the same in the same place at the same time. I like sat down and had breakfast with him. Yeah, he's a cool guy.
Yeah, talking about overblows, you mentioned them. Shane just says that your How to Overblow video on YouTube really helped him to learn overblows.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
That's great, yeah. And I mean, I also remember your videos. I mean, you started uploading educational material very early on.
Yeah, it was probably like, I don't even know now, at least 5 years.
Yeah.
5 years ago. But I never put any effort into the production of it. I just used to turn my phone on and start talking to it in one take. And but you know, I think the content was good, and so people like them, and they it was just a way really of getting myself established within the harmonica community. You know, if you can give something away that's free and useful to people, it's more interesting to most people than just going, listen to my album, listen to my music.
Oh yeah, you got to connect it with something else.
Yeah.
So you said that you never really had like a harmonica teacher. How did you get into harmonica teaching then?
Do you know what? I don't really know. It just kind of happened. I think, well, to begin with, it was a way of finding an alternate income, basically, you know, while I was playing music. Because before that, I was working in a call center. And then there's a guy in Brighton called Richard Taylor. He runs the Harp Surgery website. I don't know if you're aware of that.
Yeah.
But he set up a teaching business, teaching harmonica in schools around Sussex, where I live, and asked me to work for him, going out and teaching in schools. So I did a lot of that. That's been my day job for a long time.
Yeah.
And then the private teaching over Skype really just happened as a result of putting out YouTube videos. I think someone just asked me one day, do you do Skype lessons? And I was like, yeah.
Yeah, of course, like as a musician, you have to say yes.
Yeah, and it just grew from there, I think.
Yeah.
You learn a lot yourself from teaching, I find. You know, even if I'm sitting down teaching a beginner for the 1000th time.
That's true.
How to play the bends on hole 3. It's like I'm really having to think about what I'm doing.
Yeah. And after like doing that a lot, you can give better tips actually.
Exactly, yeah. Because I never used to think about what I was doing at all. I just did it.
Yeah.
And then when you have to break it down to explain it to someone else, it really makes you think about it more, and then you get more control over it yourself. So I think teaching has helped me improve a lot.
Yeah. And I really enjoyed like the last few videos where you actually uploaded like little snippets of lessons you gave to very young students.
Oh, right, yeah.
I was very happy about that, to see that.
Cool, yeah. I had Noah from California. He's either 7 or 8 now. He's been having lessons with me pretty much since the beginning of the COVID lockdown thing. So he went from being a complete beginner to now he's playing blues. He's got all his bends from holes 1 to 6.
Yeah.
And then there's Elwood, who I shared a video of today, who's very unusual, being a 13-year-old who's really into like old school blues. Playing like Big Water Horton style, which is really cool to see like that. There's not many kids that play like that, and they're really into the old blues like that. So yeah,
and at that age it's like, I mean, that's just like me talking from experience, like it's not like the coolest instrument you could play at school.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, that's fantastic. Like everybody, if you haven't seen that, you should check these videos out. I mean, that's just very inspirational to see that.
Cool.
Frank is asking you, I think he tuned in late. He's asking you to play the Do-Si-Do riff again.
Oh, I'll play it in a different key this time. There we go.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah, it was fun for me figuring it out, like just listening very closely to the recording, and like also these little ghost chords that are in there.
Oh, right. Yeah. I don't think
I like really getting that airy sound at that one little passage.
That is a thing about playing something like that, where it's a loop or just a short hook. It's like the video I've just done with Rolly Platt, which is coming out next week. We've got like a 4-bar or 8-bar head or hook in it. So if it's something like that's going to be repeated a lot, it needs to be really tight, and everything about it has to be just right. So on the surface it may seem like nothing, or like something really, really simple that you just knock together, but writing hooks is harder, for me at least, than writing a long improvised solo.
Yeah, it's also harder to write like a short paper that's really good compared to like just writing 100 pages. Right.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Jamie Jupiter is asking, is first position blues using lots of oboe blows?
Well,
you want to answer that?
I can answer it if you want. Yeah. First position blues. Well, the upper octave is great for first position. Whole 7 to 10, because you've got your whole blues scale as blow and draw and a few blow bends, not overblows, just blow bends. And the lower octave is cool. There's one note missing from the blues scale in the lower octave.
Yeah.
There's no minor third, so we've got
and that's really like the only riff you can hear a lot of blues players play.
Yeah, there was like one. Everyone plays that lick all the time.
Yeah, but it's nice to at least already have that like contrast between the lower octave and the higher octave.
Yeah, for sure. And then most people tend to avoid the middle octave for first position blues because there are 2 or 3 overblows needed. Yeah, you need 4, 5, and 6 overblow.
Yeah.
So the middle octave is pretty awkward without.
That's true. It can be expressive if you can like bend overblows, but it's definitely not like the most comfortable key to play like the blues scale in. Yeah, so many questions coming in right now. Frank is asking, what kind of harmonica are you playing?
Seidel 1847s.
Okay.
And a lot of the time they're in my own custom tuning. So.
Yeah. Juan from Argentina is asking, how many hours do you practice per week?
It really depends. Like the first year, maybe 2 years that I played for, I used to play for several hours a day, like 5, maybe 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
And my lips used to bleed, and I'd have like sore bits here on my face and stuff. But you know, I didn't have a job or anything back then. But yeah, for the last sort of 10 years, I barely have practiced at all, to be quite honest. I mainly just play in rehearsals and on stage, and you know, if I'm recording sessions or whatever it's and when I'm teaching, obviously I'm playing, but I hadn't really sat down and worked at anything new, not consciously at least.
Yeah.
Until a couple of years ago, when I came up with the idea for this tuning of mine, I started practicing a lot more again then.
Yeah.
Because I had these new things that I could do.
Yeah, you got to get used to like the new breathing patterns, basically.
Yeah. Although, to be honest, I kind of worked a lot of that out in my head before it even arrived. You know what I mean? I kind of knew
that's great.
What it was going to do. But then there's always like other cool things that you find you can do with it that were unintentional, you know. But yeah, so when the lockdown happened with this COVID thing, I started practicing again, like for hours a day, for the first time in years.
Nice, yeah.
And got better, which is cool. Yeah, it was good. I've kind of got busier again now with other stuff, but the first month or two of the lockdown, when there was nothing to do, and I just get up and just start playing harmonica when I felt like it, and keep playing for a few hours, and ended up coming up with a couple of other tunings. Started experimenting with different scales, like I came up with this tuning for playing Phrygian dominant. And then I came up with a minor. It's like a natural minor variation of my wild tuning. So it's like natural minor, but it's wild tuning where all the draw notes bend, but the thirds and the sixths are flattened. So,
and of course, you have these chords in there, which are also worth a lot playing a minor tune.
Yeah.
Because that's like one thing you can definitely not do on like a standard diatonic harmonica.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it means you don't need the overblow to get the minor 6, and you don't have to bend to get the minor 3rd, which obviously it's not a problem bending to get the minor third, but
yeah.
you get a different sound when it's there as a natural note. It's much more precise every time, and you can attack it in different ways. So yeah,
and the timbre of the scale is just different, like from other tunings. And
it kind of just makes you come up with different ideas. I came up with a major variation of the Wilde tuning as well, which is like country tuning, but so it's got draw 5 rays. Yeah.
So the 6/0 draw is also like the root note in second position?
6 draw, yeah.
And 5/0 draw is the major 7?
Huh?
5/0 draw is the major 7?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. What about the 6/0 blow then? Is that actually lower than the major 7?
Major 6. I got a repeat of that note.
Okay.
Because I like that draw 6 to behave in the same way as draw 2.
Yeah.
So it bends a tone, and you can get a nice wide vibrato on it. And obviously the amount that the draw note bends is determined by what the blow note is in that hole.
Yeah.
So that's why. That's the reason for the repeat.
Okay, of course.
Note.
Yeah, and this is just like incredibly helpful if you play amplified in the upper octave, like guitar or like rock guitar licks. They just sound very natural. They come up very natural in that tuning, right?
Yeah, like it's always annoyed me, frustrated me. I think because I play guitar as well. When you're playing in second position, your root note is draw 2, and it's blow 6, an octave up, and you can't really put any vibrato on that blow 6 because it doesn't bend.
Yeah.
Guitar players are always bend their B string up to that note with a lot of vibrato on it. And I always wanted to do that and couldn't, and it was just like disappointing. So I ended up using draw 6, which is using that note all the time to get the intensity and the vibrato I wanted, but it wasn't actually the note that I wanted to play a lot of the time. So yeah, that was one of the big things for developing this tune, and so I could do that,
and another thing that just comes to my mind is like, obviously now you can make use of like the throat vibrato in the upper octave on strong notes.
That's it.
Because like with a regular tuning, you can't use the throat vibrato in the upper octave, basically.
No, not really, no. So I was finding basically as my band and the material that I was writing became more rock and less kind of Chicago blues, I was starting to find the standard tuning just really restrictive, and I was only really using holes 1 to 6. And you get guys like John Popper, who I think is amazing, by the way, who plays rock stuff in the upper octave, but most of his songs are in a major key.
Yeah.
So he's... I got a note stuck on that one. I can't play like him, but all that kind of...
Exactly, yeah.
That kind of stuff, which is great in Blues Traveler, but that's not what I wanted to do in the upper octave for my material.
Yeah.
So I was finding I was just using holes 1 to 6 all the time, you know, and I can overblow, so I could get the notes that I needed in the upper octave, but I couldn't get them in the way. Couldn't get them in that kind of way with that flow and that speed and that vibrato. So that's why I had to kind of do something about it. And Brendan Power is one of the big innovators of harmonica tunings. Probably him and Lee Oscar are the two main ones that come to mind. And Brendan had, he's invented a lot of tunings and various gadgets for harmonica, actually. He had two tunings that interested me, the power draw and the power bender. And they both, you know, share the same idea of this, where all of the draw notes bend all the way up to the top.
Yeah.
And it is a very similar configuration. I tried the power draw and the power bender, and I liked certain things about both of them. But neither was quite right for me and what I wanted to do. So this is somewhere in between the two. Slightly less chromatic capability, but more kind of suited to blues scale and minor pentatonic playing.
Yeah. So I already told you about this. I had the idea of like, maybe we can play some phrases back and forth.
Yeah.
And maybe you can start easy, like with stuff that I can do on the diatonic, on the standard Richter tuned harmonica, and then maybe you can get into stuff that just works great with your tuning, and I can just try to imitate what you're doing on my tuning.
Okay. What key do you want?
I love my B flat harmonica.
Okay, cool. So do you want to do like...
That's the best vibrato I can get.
Nice. Is that valved?
No, it isn't.
No, it kind of sounded like it was. Cool. Yeah, so I can get a lot more aggressive with that vibrato if I want. Yeah.
If this was set up better, I could like kind of do something on the 5-hole overblow.
Cool. Here we go.
Or
nice. Cool.
Oh, that's the hardest.
Yeah, that's the one. Not bad.
Have you ever heard about the German harmonica player Mark Breitfelder?
No, I don't. No.
He's very heavily into. He has his diatonic harmonicas set like very, very narrow, like the gapping,
right.
And he's very into these like banded overblows. And there are some songs where he almost uses them like exclusively.
Oh, okay.
And he doesn't play like any natural note because he basically also can't anymore with that setup.
Right.
But it can sound very, very expressive. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he plays like Amazing Grace with that tuning. Like that.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I mean that stuff works well on this too.
Yeah, you have all these notes as draw notes.
So, you know, I mainly use it for minor pentatonic, but it's really good actually for major pentatonic too. That kind of country lick that you get at the bottom on draw 3, you can get at the top too. So
yeah, I can only.
Yeah,
it's close, but it's not like as.
Yeah, but you know, it's every tuning's different. Everything you gain, you lose something else too. A lot of the time. So with this, I had to find the best compromise, basically, where I lose as little as possible. But yeah.
So did you have the whole thing in your mind beforehand, or did you like? Were there some other like versions of the tuning there that didn't quite work out before?
Yeah, there were a few prototypes. The first one was this one, which I haven't played in years. I did use it on Locomotive Breath on the last album. So this is played in 3rd position. I just called it 4-5-6 tuning because it's basically holds 4-5-6, 4-5-6, 4-5-6, 4-5-6. Yeah. So it's really good for like fast repeating.
Which is also very guitar-like.
Yeah, kind of. But I found this one wasn't actually that expressive because, I don't know, you only need one bend in every octave.
Yeah.
Like to play the blues scale at least. So yeah, it just wasn't that expressive. And I found I kept kind of getting lost on it because the root notes are in different holes to where they would normally be. Whereas on the one I ended up with, for 2nd position, the root note is still 2, 6, and 9. So I struggled to switch between this other one back and forth with standard tuning.
Yeah.
I had another one called 1-2-3 tuning, which is just like 1-2-3, 1-2-3.
Okay.
I haven't used this one like for a few years either, but so I'd messed around with those, and then I heard about Brendan's tunings, Power Draw and Power Bender, where, you know, in Power Draw he'd kept holes 1-6 standard, and in Power Bender he'd kept 1-4 standard, and that got me thinking, like, well, it doesn't have to, you know, you don't have to change the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I learned from these ones that actually I really like holes 1-5 as they are. Like, I don't really want to change any of that. All that stuff that we get in 1-5, the drill, the double stop, the octaves, you know. So I learned that I had to keep 1-5 the same. Hole 6 had to change to give me that, you know, that octave, and then and then the upper octave is heavily inspired by Brendan's tunings. So.
Yeah, so even if you don't play many overblows, I can imagine that, like, for these higher draw bands, your harmonica should be set up pretty well too. So how do you go about that? Do you set up your harmonicas yourself?
I don't set mine up at all. I never have.
Okay, that's interesting.
With the 1847s from Seidel, I don't know if it's because I've been playing them for years and my playing and my breath control has adapted to suit this setup, or if it just happened by chance, but I find them perfect. I mean, this one, I got it's not set up. You can still overblow on it. You know, you could set it up better for overblows, but I find with overblow setup, because I play quite aggressively,
definitely,
I tend to choke the blow notes if I get it too low. And so because I don't use a lot of overblows anyway, I prefer just to keep it set up as it comes out factory. And like occasionally if you get a harp where one hole is a little bit hard to bend or sounds a bit airy or something, then I might just close the gap a little bit. But generally I don't do anything to them.
Okay. There are two questions in the chat which are basically the same, by Chloe and Mr. QBA, talking about your solos and how you maybe think of them beforehand. How do you come up with great ideas or like a great story over a backing track, for example?
I mean, in a live setting, or like, you know, on a jam where I've maybe never heard the song before, it's completely off the cuff, improvised. The way I look at improvising is, obviously I've got a bunch of licks and stuff that are all part of my repertoire, and they will come out one way or another. Usually they'll be adapted, like you won't play the same lick, crowbar licks into a song. Adapt them to fit the groove. So it's partly licks that I've got stored away, and the other part is just kind of pure free form improvising using a given scale. So we take like a major pentatonic scale. I've just kind of just play around with that scale. I might start with a run up it, and then like the sound of that note over whatever chord I'm on. So I might stay on that note for a bit, and then go up to the next note, start coming back down, and
that's important what you just said. Like just also maybe just playing a phrase and then maybe taking a break and then thinking about like, oh, did I really like that?
Right, yeah.
Do I want to continue with that path, or do I want to go somewhere else? And I mean, practicing that, I would also say it makes sense to record yourself. Did you do that a lot?
Yeah, when I'm recording, then a bit more thought goes into it, you know.
Yeah, of course.
I usually, I'll just play, like if I get a session or something, play the song and just play over it. And try and imagine I'm on stage playing live, and there's an audience and I've got to do something good. Like, you know, imagine that you've only got one shot. And quite often that take will end up being the basis of the solo I later compose. So I just listen to it and then go through phrase by phrase. And think, oh, that bit's strong. That bit doesn't really say anything, or it's too repetitive, or I don't know, maybe too aggressive or inappropriate for the vibe of the song, and then just drop in and change one phrase at a time here or there.
So would you say that actually like your like writing lyrics is like similar or influences your harmonica writing?
Well, my songwriting process recently, I've been co-writing I co-write lyrics with Sarah Starbuck, who is an author, like a book editor and author. She's not a musician, but she's really good with words and poetry.
Yeah.
So it usually starts with the words, and then I'll take them. I might give her a theme or something, and then she'll come back with poetry, basically. And I'll kind of look through that, maybe change bits about, change some words or whatever. And the words usually give me a melody.
Okay.
Somehow. I don't know how, but they do. If I just had to think up a melody for a song chorus, I think I'd struggle. But having some evocative words seems to bring a melody from somewhere. And then I'll sit down with the guitar and kind of find what chords I want to support that melody.
Yeah.
And then work out from there. And usually the harmonica is like the last thing that happens. You know, I'll try and get a good chorus first. If you've got a good chorus, then you've got a good song. And then you can work out, you know, write some verses, write a middle eight, and then decide about putting a solo in it somewhere. I think I've only ever written one song that started with the harmonica, which is, okay. It's not released yet. It's going to be on the next record, but it's called Take the Best of Me, and it's a riff bass.
Okay.
With that, and then that's like a big, heavy unison riff, kind of like Rage Against the Machine or Led Zeppelin kind of riff.
Yeah. So what kind of music are you listening to like right now? What would we find like in your, I don't know, playlist?
It's so varied. It's not a lot of blues at the moment. Well, lately I've been working a lot on vocals more than anything, and like vocal distortion and grit. So I've been listening to a lot of Linkin Park, actually.
Okay, yeah.
Chester Bennington, because he was kind of a master of vocal compression and distortion. I was listening to Tom Petty on the way here today. I was listening to Michael Jackson yesterday. Yeah, so a lot of stuff, all kinds of stuff, from, you know, rock to metal, some 70s rock, like bands like Free, occasionally some old school blues stuff. Yeah, it really varies, you know, reggae, soul sometimes. But yeah, a lot of AC/DC lately.
Okay.
AC/DC and Thin Lizzy as well.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta be honest, like AC/DC was one of my first favorite bands. Like,
cool.
I remember like my grandpa buying me like a DVD of them, which was actually like for not for under 16 euros or something. And I was very happy that I got it. I was younger back then.
Cool. But yeah, I've been playing the Highway to Hell album a lot. I was trying to, because with the new material we've been writing, so, you know, I've been writing lyrics with Sarah, and then working on the actual music and recording process with Steve Brook, our guitar player. And we've got like a whole album worth of material now. And I was trying to kind of work out what the overarching theme is to the sound, and what it's like, who it's like, you know. And the Highway to Hell album to me is kind of a lot of the sort of lyrical themes are very similar to that record. Like the Bon Scott era Highway to Hell kind of is quite dark lyrics, but all very feel good, just, you know, good time rock and roll stuff. Yeah.
Can you already foresee when the album is coming out?
Do you know what? I really don't know. With COVID, obviously there's no gigs, and so it doesn't seem like a very good time to release something. I don't want this album to be wasted, because we could put it out and then not be able to tour for another year or more. Who knows, you know? And then the album will be forgotten about, and we'll still have no gigs and no press or anything. So I'm waiting for the right time. But in the meantime, just keeping on writing songs and working on the music. So yeah.
Great, yeah. Like one other thing that I don't have, I'm not too much into because I don't play like amplified harmonica on stage. Wanted to talk about the equipment you use on stage for harmonica.
All right.
Like you talked about the first time playing through a Marshall amp, and what are you using right now? And
I've swapped about a lot in the last couple of years. For a long time, I just used a Fender Super Reverb 4x10. And then I switched to using an Axe-Fx, Fractal Audio Axe-Fx, which is like a rack mount digital guitar amp. It's a computer that models amplifiers. And I was using that for a while. On the whole of this album that we're recording now, I've been using this Mesa Mark V behind me, which isn't actually mine, that's Steve's. But so the problem is with the high gain guitar amps like Marshall and the Mesa, they do tend to cause a lot of feedback issues on stage. So I still haven't been using those live. I've been using Fender amps live. But really my sound now isn't the typical like high impedance bullet mic and Fender style amp. It's a low impedance standard SM58 and high gain amp. So I think when the gigs start again, I'm going to switch back to using the Axe-Fx, and I'm going to model that amp, which is the Mesa Mark V, in the Axe-Fx. And go direct out of that into the PA and have in-ear monitors so there's no feedback. And I think that will get me the sound that I've been looking for, or, you know, the sound that I use, but in a live setting.
Great. So you don't use any effect pedals on stage?
I go through phases, but I've used a few pedals on the record, like Univibe, Wah. Used a weird thing, like a ring modulator on one side. But I don't use a lot of effects. Mainly, always a bit of reverb or delay, or sometimes both together. I don't use overdrive or distortion pedals. Usually I get that from the amp. But live I like to keep things simple. I don't like having a lot of stuff on the floor. Just want room to move around and perform. I don't really like, I'm not one of those people that's really into gear. Like, I have a lot of gear out of necessity, but I'd rather not have to worry about it. I just want something that sounds the way I want it to sound, and
And that's also the setup you use for like recording the YouTube videos everybody can see online.
That's usually actually for those that's usually the Axe-Fx. It's not actually a real amp. most people wouldn't know the difference, I'm sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, in the beginning, I played a lot of blues gigs, of course, and I just used the stuff that other people used. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, now I'm not playing any concerts where I play like amplified harmonica. Right. Yeah, that's very very rare.
Okay.
But so I know that it's just a lot of fun.
Right.
I would love to do it a little more, actually.
Yeah. But, yeah, it's good to play acoustic sometimes and amplified sometimes, I think. Yeah, I'm lucky I get to do both in different settings and different projects. I have like an acoustic duo side project thing with my sister that's more traditional. And for that, I just play in front of the stage mic.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, don't want to carry a lot of stuff. I'm very happy if I can like just take my backpack to the gig and that's it. Sure. But yeah, are there any questions left in the chat? I don't think so. Yeah. So, you already told us what you're up to. You have that video coming out with Rory Platt, the album coming out very soon, hopefully.
Yeah.
Connected to a little tour and concerts. What's the best way for people to stay updated?
We were supposed to be coming to Germany this December, but obviously that's been cancelled. So we're looking at winter next year. I've got a few festivals booked in for next summer. One in Romania that just came in, one in France, a couple of other bits, one in Ireland, I think. But yeah, everything's so uncertain at the moment. I really don't know when we're going to back out touring for sure.
Yeah, so to everyone who's interested, I linked all the social media accounts you have in the description box below. What's the best way for people to stay updated?
Facebook or Instagram is best.
Okay.
You can subscribe to my mailing list on my website as well. And you can subscribe to my YouTube, of course, for
the next video,
videos and things. So yeah.
Great. Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much for taking the time and
no problem. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, that was great, and hope everybody's having a good time watching this, and hope to see you very soon. I'm not sure about the next live stream. Did I already say that a date for that? Oh yeah, I did. So Liam Ward will be the guest of the next live stream on November 5th. So that will be Thursday again. So thank you everyone for tuning in on a Wednesday. That's unusual. And hope to see you in 2 weeks? I think so. Maybe next time I can tell a little bit more about my future live streams on Twitch. I'm just figuring it out. They will be in English. And check out Will. Go follow him on Instagram and everywhere. And hope you have a good evening or a good day wherever you are. Thank you, Will, for your time.
Thanks.
Bye-bye, everyone.
See you soon.